Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what part of the world you're in. I'm Kevin Koym. This is the Venture Outfitter. Real excited today. We've got a lot of different things we're going to be sharing, and real excited about everything that's coming together. It seems like the summer has been presenting all sorts of gifts and blessings on all the different things that are happening around the world. Real excited about that. Welcome back to the Venture Outfitter. Part of what we hear is this program is a program about supporting entrepreneurs around the world, especially entrepreneurs that have businesses that really drive things forward. And I'm going to actually spend a lot. I got every once in a while I get some questions about why is it that I spend time on news that's outside of just not just the ideas about technology or ability to do startup stuff. The reason I do that is that entrepreneurs implicitly in their act of creation and building businesses are creating culture, and we have to decide, is that culture going to contribute to the world, or is it just going to be kind of a placeholder, or is the technology or whatever, how is it being used? Right, there's all sorts of different ways of using technology and applying it, and in just building businesses. And I think we see too many times businesses that don't have some informed idea about it. And it could be a bakery or something like that. It doesn't really even have to be this vaulted technology business. But part of what we're here to do is support the entrepreneurs that are driving impact in the world to go farther. And so I'm excited about that today. Today's sponsor is Go USA. We're going to hear from we heard from one of our Austrian entrepreneurs last week. Real excited to be a part of this process. Austria has some really advanced technologies that are right in line with this whole idea of impact innovation, technology that solves human needs. We'll hear in just a few slides from one of our entrepreneurs that's in this cohort, and you'll get a chance to interact with them and stuff like that. Now, there's a lot of different things that are happening, and that there's been kind of this Central European, Eastern European impact that we're building more bridges. There's really amazing technology that's there, and part of what our job is to help bridge that. We'll be talking a lot more throughout this year about the Venture Bridge concept, about how is it that we can actually help these startups and scale-ups that have compelling technology gain access to markets. I'm real excited to have Open Austria and as a partner in this, and TechRanch is really happy to be partnering up with them. Thank you for sponsoring both the Venture Bridge as well as the work that we're doing together today. And so we are kicking off a number of different venture bridges. We've already told you about the Japan JETRO, that stands for the Japan Trade Organization. Also, a lot of activities sponsored by the state of Chihuahua in Mexico. There are several other venture bridges that are coming. And the real power is not just a point-to-point connection, but when there's this idea of technology that, like right now, we have technology that's coming from Japan that is in the process of landing into northern Mexico. And you say, why does that matter? Well, Tesla just opened up or just announced a plant in Nuevo León, Mexico. That happens to be one of the driest parts of Mexico there is. If you're going to build all these advanced technology and all these new vehicles, electromobility of transportation, that's great. But if you don't have any water to do it, you got to do it in a different way. And so part of the powerful thing is we have technology that's coming out of Japan that's going to land in Mexico and vice versa. So it's not just about Austin. It's about, building these bridges around the world. Real excited about seeing that emerge. Next week, we're going to have Joe Mon, who is a long-term angel investor and worked with a number of different family offices. He's going to be talking about optimize your fundraising possibilities. He's got a process that his company called Angel Span uses to help engage with your investors more. And so we'll have him on next week. And then the 27th, we're going to do kind of a review of a lot of the activities that have been happening over the last few months. We'll tell you more about that. Anytime you have questions, though, about what's coming, and if you want to subscribe to our activities, you can subscribe from the outside, which is on our techranch.com/events calendar. You're also all welcome to join us in our community. We have a community at community.techranch.com. If you're interested in being a part of the community, we have a little bit more insider information available about these events. That the way to go sign up for that, just so you can actually make sure that you're getting it all the time, is to go to techranch.com/connect. And there's a bunch of different launch points there that you can take advantage of. So real excited about this, about having Joe present next week, and we'll tell you more about what's happening soon. So every once in a while, I kind of, one of my biggest concerns for entrepreneurs is helping you guys move forward in the rough times. And so a lot of times I like to spend a little bit of time about saying, sharing insight about what's happening, especially for our mental health. It's the, business people don't have to work on their mental health as much as entrepreneurs do. We have to constantly do that. The Harvard Grant study is one of the world's longest running and most comprehensive psychological studies. And it talks about love. There's all sorts of interesting things about it. I just kind of did a clip out of it. The study says the happiest people are the ones that have chosen to do these 5 things. First is suppress unproductive and distressing thoughts. And they don't mean just, push it under a, carpet or something like that, or, shove it under the bed, but suppress the ones that are not actually moving forward without just like disconnecting from that. Maintaining a realistic view of the future and its difficulties, turning frustration and anger into productive energy. I can tell you that I built many a startup based on my anger. In fact, a few weeks ago, I told you the whole story about why I started TechRanch. And I think this is really important to take that energy and apply it in those kind of ways. Make light of stressful events. We even did that earlier today before we got started with the video production, and focus on the well-being of others, especially in a community of entrepreneurs that are focused on building a better world. I know that this lines up with all of your interest. And so that's part of what we're here to do. And so we'll continue to focus on these type of things. The main thing that I want to say to you is there is a channel in the community, and we just, it's only been a little bit of time since we've launched the new community software. We used to use Slack. You guys liked the Slack environment, and then Slack ended up cranking up the price to the point that I would have had to charge too much for entrepreneurs. But there is a channel called the personal development channel. There's a mental health technology channel, and then there's a personal development channel. There's going to be a lot more activities happening in that personal development channel, including reflections about things like this, about just how do you actually move forward in especially when you're underfunded and up against, really well, funded competitors, and, having the difficulties of just building a business. But I think that this study is a really interesting thing to take a gander at. We'll talk more about that sort of stuff coming soon. So I'm going to be returning to Chile. And you say returning to Chile, a lot of people don't know that 20 years ago, when I started this part of my career, the first 1,000 entrepreneurs to go through a TechRanch program before TechRanch was called TechRanch in Chile. So the week of July 31st through August 6th, I'll be between Valparaiso, Viña del Mar, and Santiago doing events in all 3 cities. Real excited about that. And some of my favorite people are in the pictures that you see there, that I'll be getting to spend some time with as well. And then the week after, I'll be in Mendoza, Argentina, working with a congressman there who has been coming to Austin for a long time. So I will be in Mendoza. A lot of the events that since we have a number of Chileans and Argentinians that are involved in our work, all those type of things are going to get published. We're still working out some of the details. They're going to get published onto the network, onto the events calendar. Join us if you'd like. And if you're going to be down there, we have two delegations from the U.S. that happen to be down there at the same time. Drew Schullerby from Texas Association of Business is going to be in Chile at the same time I am. So there will be some other activities that are happening between the Texas Association of Business. Drew is also the chairman of the National Security Innovation Council. And so if you're interested in meeting up with us while we're in Chile, there will be a lot of different activities and stuff like that. Some of them that we'll publish, some of them we won't, because they're just going to be, one-on-one meetings, but take advantage of that. So a few weeks ago, I took this photo in front of the NATO building in Vilnius, Lithuania. We had a project that we were launching with the Office of the President of Lithuania. And if you didn't see the news, some important things are happening in Lithuania right now. In fact, NATO has had a very important meeting, and I don't know where you stand about this, but I'll tell you, I rock solidly stand with the Lithuanians, and I'm very proud of the United States and how we're moving forward on taking care of the conflict that's happening in Ukraine. It should never have started. I'm usually not someone to promote any kind of this type of activity, but the truth is that freedom, we need to let freedom ring. And part of the work that we as a community should be doing is making sure that we're creating these bridges for technology entrepreneurs as well, right? I mean, sometimes the military goes first in places, but then quickly our community needs to be there to support it. In fact, part of what I wanted to do was share a little bit of the history. I won't go into a lot of details right now because we don't have a lot of time in today's program, but March 2018 is my first trip to Vilnius. May 2018 was my second. And then this last April, got to go to the equivalent of the White House. This is the presidential palace. And we'll tell you more about what's happening. But part of the concern that the Lithuanians have that I share, this was an ambulance that had been shot up. Like even, people than ambulances are being attacked in Ukraine. This is wrong. And part of what we need to do, in that slide that I mentioned earlier at the very beginning, I said that implicitly by being an entrepreneur, you are a purveyor of culture, and you need to decide, are you just going to be neutral about, events in the world? Or are you actually going to be driving something forward? I actually think that part of what you should be doing, and what I should be doing as well, is making a statement. And so instead of me making the statement, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of the words of Garry Kasparov. He gave a speech in A Free World with Unity of Purpose at the Truman Presidential Library on my birthday, June 15th. He also made a statement in Vilnius over the last few days that I think are important. But I'm going to read this one to you, especially for those of you all that are listening to this as a podcast, because I think it's important to keep on framing in. As entrepreneurs, we have a responsibility. We implicitly create culture, and we need to know we can't just de-identify with what's politically happening in the world, especially if we want freedom and democracy to ring. This month, this is the quote. This month, I want to share with you my keynote for the Truman Presidential Library on the 75th anniversary of the Berlin blockade. It was my personal privilege of mine to speak at the library of my namesake. Part of what Gary said was that Harry Truman, when his father named, Gary, he named him Gary instead of Harry. But in lights of the Harry Truman, the president. Believe it or not, my die-hard anti-communist father named me after Harry Truman. I am Gary, not Harry, because the hard G sound in Russian. But what drew my father to President Truman, the reason why I still count the leader behind the Berlin airlift as one of my personal heroes, is because he believed in an unwavering commitment to moral truth. What Harry Truman knew, and what we can still learn from him today, is there's no moral equivalence between the free world and the unfree world. Stop chattering about respecting cultural differences and traditions of cruelty and misery. Individual freedom is better. Democracy is better. Equality under the law is better. Take it from someone who grew up without them. We who have the privilege of freedom must always remember that defending our democracies against threats, foreign and domestic, is a duty not just to ourselves, but to all humans who lack the basic rights that we enjoy. I can't say enough about how I think that this is implicit in our work as entrepreneurs about what we should be doing and how thinking about it. So this is why, instead of just building trading systems for Fidelity Investments or e-commerce systems for Dell, both of those companies I appreciate because they were my customers in the past. This is why we're building Venture Bridges. This is why we're building the Venture Outfitter, is to do our part in this type of work. And so it's important to celebrate and recognize the entrepreneurs that are really driving this forward. Many of you could do many other things. And part of the thing that you're doing by building the businesses that you are is making a difference. So let's hear from one of these entrepreneurs. We're going to hear from Fiona, who's the founder of Raccoon, that rescues energy and revives profits autonomously. Fiona, thank you for joining us. Let's do this. So I'm gonna just put you on the spot, take you off of let's see, take the slides off so people can see you and me. What's your elevator?
Hi, everyone.
What do you do? Welcome. I'm real excited to have you in the Austrian the Texas Austrian Venture Bridge, and tell us all about your venture.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, I'm looking forward to come to Texas and meet in person. Nice to meet everybody. I'm Fiona. I'm heading the US expansion of Raccoon. And as Kevin rightly mentioned, we are an AI-powered cloud-based B2B software as a service platform that automates solar PV operations. And our goal is to maximize profits through minimizing energy waste. To achieve this, we developed the world's first autonomous operations center for renewable energy systems called the Raccoon AOC. And the problem we are solving for is that currently all PV systems are underperforming and wasting precious renewable energy. And this issue is accelerating with every new PV system set up around the globe. And so through AI-powered automation and early fault detection and intervention, we strive to rescue precious renewable energy from being wasted while improving solar energy yield by around 6% for our clients. And so this year we're looking to expand it to the United States, and therefore I would really, really appreciate introductions to potential partners, customers, investors, or advisors. So if you are someone or know anyone who knows anyone, please let me know. Thank you so much for your help. And thank you, Kevin, for letting me present.
Thank you, Fiona, for being on today. We're real excited about your company and all the companies that are going to be joining us here in Austin. But during this period of time, part of what we're going to be doing is before they get here, I think they're going to be on the ground here October 15th to November 15th, something like that. And the dates are being worked out by Austria and stuff like that. But the main thing is, how do people get a hold of you, Fiona? We're going to have a pointer to you on the community site, but how do they best get a hold of you? Like, what's the best way to follow up with you?
Good point. The best way is to just send me an email at fa@raccoon.com. I can also type it somewhere if easier.
That sounds great. And what we'll do is, for anyone that wants to follow up with Fiona, there will be contact information and a link to their website in the community site. You can all join the community site to follow up. That's where we do a lot of and it'll also be in today's YouTube notes on the there as well. So thank you, Fiona, and looking forward to working with you side by side.
Same here, Kevin. Thanks so much.
Cool. All right, well, so we're going to get right back into the presentation, and I'm talking a lot. We have a lot of stuff to go through, but one of the important things too is that I want to give you a glimpse of Austin. One of the reasons that I think Austin is the perfect place to have as the crossroads of all these important technologies is that people in Austin really care. I actually think of it sometimes when I'm talking to my European friends. Europeans and Austinites have a lot of concern for the future of the planet, right, in a certain way. And you're going to hear this with the words of, this is Andrea, who ran a program at the city of Austin for supporting people that are facing homelessness. Let's hear directly from her really quick about this program, and we'll tell you more in the follow-up on the community notes about it.
With lived experience to participate in the Homeless Strategy Division's organizational capacity building, assessment, accelerator, and small grants program. These organizations participated in a needs assessment process with consultants from Blue Sky Partners, which took a deep dive into their organizational infrastructure to identify strengths and opportunities to increase their capacity and advance their mission. They were compensated $2,500 for their efforts in this rigorous process and received a comprehensive document summarizing the findings that one of our awardees, Phyllis Everett from Saffron Trust, describes as a biopsy of our needs as an organization that serves as the pulse of creating a lifespan for our organization.
So we're going to actually hear really briefly from the entrepreneur that Andrea just mentioned. There's going to be follow-up. These are nonprofits, but a lot of times what happens around the tech ranch is we'll have a for-profit in some part of the world for-profit technology venture that has a technology that solves a fundamental need for the nonprofit. And so a lot of the times, what our nonprofit does is draw those lines between here. I was really moved by this entrepreneur's background and what she's up to. Let's hear directly from her, and then there will be ways to follow up if you see an opportunity for your technology or you'd like to get involved to talk to her directly. I apologize in advance that the audio on this didn't come out like I wanted it to, but let's hear from her.
Hello, I'm Phyllis Everett, Saffron Trust Women's Foundation. We are located in Travis County, Texas, Austin, Texas. We cycle women out of generational poverty by becoming their central source for all the services that they need. We have programs within Saffron Trust Women's Foundation where we also help women. Our Feeding Austin Family program is servicing 8,000 meals on a.
So she's, I guess I cut that a little bit too quick. She said that they're servicing 8,000 meals per week for families. Pretty impressive about what's happening there. We'll hear more about them. If you have connections, a lot of times, especially for our entrepreneurs that are in other countries that have insight, like I'll be talking to one of the other Austrian companies later today that has a platform called Social Card. And although they're not going to be one of the 4 companies on the ground, they have a card that is useful for, for bridging into these other areas. A lot of times, it'd be next to impossible for an entrepreneur in some other part of the world to actually apply their technology into this other area. That's part of our job. That's part of what we're here to do. So there will be follow-up information that's available on the community site. Please check us there. Other thing that happened is the South by Southwest sister city, actually the Austin sister city with Adelaide, South Australia. It's now 40 years old, and from part of what's been happening, Tech Ranch has been working with that city and with the New Ventures Institute for many, many years, starting in I think it was 2014 that we started really helping entrepreneurs from South Australia. Now, there's gone through all sorts of changes, and because everything stopped around COVID, we're reinitiating that. But there's been a lot of activity that's happened, including taking on this disease called leishmaniasis. I won't play this whole video, but if you're interested, we'll make sure that there's a follow-up. The key thing was technology from South Australia, 2 of them being put together to take on a disease in Ethiopia called leishmaniasis. That was typically a lot of the poorer individuals there not being able to get their disease or the little bite on their hand tested, and therefore it ended up it take their life sometimes, or take their arm or something like that. Really compelling things. This is actually from the national news in Australia from a few years ago.
Magic happens. Through the use of 3D printed technology, the New Venture Institute is designing and making research tools which are changing the way in which diseases are diagnosed out in the field. In war zones across the world, the skin disease known as leishmaniasis causes pain and death. It's spread by sandflies in unsanitary environments, but it's easily treated if diagnosed early with one of these.
It is game-changing. The ability to create a new way for people to fast iterate the production of tools that will help those things is amazing.
Each kit containing 3D printed test tubes and the microscope costs about $8. When used with a smartphone, it becomes a robust diagnostic tool and a potential lifesaver, especially.
So I hate to stop that video. If you want to read more about that or see that whole video, it's at techrange.com/leishmaniasis. How do you spell leishmaniasis? You'll have to ask Google because I misspell it every time. But in celebration of the 40-year anniversary of the sister city relationship, it was because of that sister city relationship that we ended up building that first venture bridge. And here's some of the example activities of what's happened to date. I'm real excited about being a part of this. I'm glad to see that Mayor Watson, who was the mayor who really invigorated the sister city relationships, he's become our mayor again. And so it's interesting to see how things are emerging. In fact, in the event that was on Tuesday night, he actually had the following thing to say. This is him celebrating our Aussie partners, and I'll just let him speak for himself.
Adelaide, I'm going to ask everybody to raise your glasses And let's make a toast to that sister city. And the toast is together. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. Thank you for all y'all do for sister cities in Austin, Texas. God bless you.
So this idea of the political relationship with the sister cities is important. And part of the thing that we want to do is continue to build the venture bridges. Like sister city relationships are important, but part of what we really need to be doing is it's only a political thing with the mayor standing in front of the flags if we're not actually driving commerce. And I'm going to say commerce that really matters. That is, products and tools like what we just heard from Fiona about. That type of technology, when applied, is going to bring access to clean energy much faster. So that's why it's so important. Real excited to see that, and we'll talk more about that soon. That being said, many of you are here not to hear from me, but hear from this guy named Jeffrey Dirrenberger, who's the CEO and founder of Vault Innovation Group. I've gone a little long, so many of you, we're going to give him as long as he wants to talk. I typically try to keep our program to an hour, and we just had a lot of lined up slides. If you've got questions, in the past, we would have people kind of hop on and ask and interrupt the speaker. Let's not do that today. If you have a question, you can raise your digital hand, or you can actually type it into the chat. If you're listening to this on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook, post it there. I'll be monitoring things, and I'll make sure we do that. But Jeffrey is the serial entrepreneur, investor, CEO, founder of Vault Innovation Group, a customer software and digital product development company. Graham McFarland, who used to be involved in the Tech Ranch years ago, is working with Jeffrey on his team and said, hey, you should get Jeffrey to talk about this generative AI process, how entrepreneurs can actually leverage these tools for their startups. With 15 years of experience in the tech industry, Dirrenberger has built dozens of engineering teams and launched a number of businesses, including Leaf Trade, iCopy, Mapped, Titan Authorizations, and GamerZ Arena. So we're going to hear from him. Thank you, Jeffrey, for joining us today. I will get my slides out of the way so you can join us. Thank you for joining us today, and thanks for your patience on listening to me go through all of the background of what's happening around the other parts of Tech Ranch. But excited to have you here.
No, it's awesome to be here. Thanks for having me, Kevin, for sure. Cool.
Well, let me hand it over to you and take it from here.
Yeah, so I mean, it's awesome hearing those updates, and there's so many layers to innovation and startups and small businesses. It's awesome to hear the initiatives that are going on. But yeah, I mean, Kevin kind of gave a quick background on me. I mean, I've been in tech for a long time, and so I've seen a lot of evolution in the space. When I started my career, it was kind of hard to accept payments online, stuff like that. So this new technology, or quote new technology, AI, it's sort of hit fever pitch. And so, I'm just going to talk about it a little bit today. There's so many detailed layers of it. And obviously, as an early stage business, I've launched so many businesses and startups, and, I get asked all the time, how can I use this for my business? Should I be going deeply into this? Is this a fad? All those things. So that's sort of what I talk about here. I think it's very applicable for early stage companies, really as any company, but it's a hot topic, as I'm sure everyone knows, and hopefully everyone has been dabbling with it. But so yeah, really just want to go in here and just kind of have a casual conversation about it. Hopefully you guys can learn some things, or maybe kind of have some new thoughts that I can share with you. So now I got to give kind of intro, but really want to go into, again, I'll just talk briefly about the current state of generative AI, because again, I think a lot of people, and I would like in person, I'd love to actually get kind of a poll, like who's using it now, who's loving using it now. Are people afraid of generative AI right now, or a little nervous? And so obviously in this format, I know Kevin kind of said, hey, let's board have a discussion maybe afterwards, but really like to get a pulse. And typically when I do ask that in the conversation, there's a lot of people talking about anxiety around it. So here's something I wanted to sort of share just to kind of start this off, which is, this is a survey that was sort of put out there. about 35% of companies are saying they're using AI in their business. Now AI, there's like traditional AI or analytical AI, and there's generative AI. Generative AI is really using more large language models and sort of, again, giving kind of that human experience. It's really giving that, hey, I'm hearing and interacting in more of a human form. Traditional AI, or that's what a lot of people have been calling it right now, is, again, you're really taking data and then automating outputs or automating analysis around it. They can combine together, but right now, kind of primarily want to talk about generative AI. But so this stat right here, of 35% of people or 35% of companies are using it, only 35%. I mean, that's crazy, right? This has been around a while. AI is everywhere. Why is that such a low number? And then, 40% of people are kind of dabbling with it. But what does that mean, dabbling with it, right? Like, there's a lot of opportunity here, is my point. And so as a startup, as an entrepreneur, everyone kind of has that token. Well, this is why startups always have an opportunity, because they can move quickly. They can shoot the gaps. So when new technologies come out, these bigger companies aren't really moving on it yet. Yes, they're reading about it. Yes, they're maybe learning about it, but they're not using it. They're not making moves on it. So again, generative AI is a huge, huge thing right now, and it's a huge opportunity for any entrepreneur. And so kind of talk a little bit about that. It's here to stay. Why is it here to stay? Why is generative AI? This is not just a fad. OpenAI or ChatGPT, basically, they've been around for a while. A lot of people don't know that. It's not like they just popped up overnight. They've been around about 5-6 years. Lots of money put into it. But when they released ChatGPT 3 in the fall, that package and the accessibility and the power of that went viral. And so that's why there's this hype cycle right now, and everyone's kind of releasing things on top of it, because the package of this got so clean. In order to do this previously, you would have to sort of make your own language model, and it was dangerous, right? I'm sure you guys would see these news streams of someone getting abused by their AI bot, or like some racist negative thing happened. That was all training. They're like learning, they're growing these things. There finally was a package that said, hey, this is actually easy to use. I can send it something, it'll send the data back. Here's an API to plug right into it, and have at it. And so that's why this thing is sort of taking off right now, rather than like a couple of years ago. People have been working on this for a while, but it's sort of reached fever pitch, and it's not going away. This is not something that like popped up out of nowhere. This is very real. And one of the biggest things is that, again, you don't need all of the CPU, like the computer power to run these models. I mean, you need lots of data. I mean, that's a little even out of my league, like how much data and computing power you need to run these models. And, as an entrepreneur, you're not going to build that yourself. You're not going to run that yourself. You just plug that right into one of these existing tools, and out comes this awesome generative AI experience. So that's why it's sort of here to stay, and it's only going to get better. So, if you're having, some hesitations of it, I get it. These are the hesitations that I talk about all the time. People come to me all the time about it. I'm interested in it, or I heard about it, but, like what, should I use it? And these are kind of the big topics that everyone's talking about. The bias of the large language models. So, are they directing people and leaning people into a way that favors a specific, part of the world, or race, or nationality? Is it, dismissing this political view or enhancing a political view? That's, kind of being pinned on this right now. That's happening all over outside of generative AI. So, a lot of people are pinning on it as like, this is a new thing generative AI is creating. There's bias on everything we're doing in movies, social media, and all that. So it's a major problem. It's not really unique to this. So, I mean, I kind of look at that as it's sort of someone maybe just naively going, hey, this is really, really dangerous. It can be. People can use this for negative things, but it's sort of just a generational problem that's out there in the world right now. Privacy, this is another thing. Everyone goes, I'm going to put my info into this AI, and it's going to steal all my secrets, my company's data, my customers' private information that they don't want out there. Obviously, in certain parts of the world, people are more concerned with this. Europe is big, obviously the US, it's big. In China, for example, not so much. You know, the government owns everything there. So they're actually just like harvesting all this data. But so you can use all these tools without putting secret sauce in there, without putting your secret companies in there. So a lot of people get hung up on this and go, I don't want to touch it. Yes, you can do stuff that's not so good, but if you use it the right way, you can not put private information on there and still get a lot of use out of it. So again, a lot of people don't know that. This is a big one, the liability. What if I put out a chat bot, or what if I, put out an experience and it says something it shouldn't say? What if it tells someone to do something that they shouldn't do? My company is going to be on the hook for that. That's very real. Every business has liability, everything that they do. And so, again, this is nothing unique than any other technology cycle that's been out there. When you are innovating and you're on the cutting edge of innovation, you're pushing boundaries. So again, there is always liabilities, but when you're innovating, you're truly kind of ahead of a lot of this. This is something I hear a lot. What if it says the wrong thing? Well, you got to package it in a way that people know what it is. And they're already, just in the last 6 months that it's been out, you're seeing so much of companies already surrounding the right experience around it. And then here's the fear of the unknown is a big thing. Obviously, people don't want to change. They don't want to innovate. That's, if you're in that mindset, not where you should be. Entrepreneurs are obviously not in that mindset. But this is the last one. And this is the biggest one to me that I think needs to sort of change. So I've done a lot. I've innovated and launched companies in, I don't even know how many verticals now, cannabis, esports, hospitality, education, legal, fintech. And, one of them, cannabis was a big one that launched a venture in, and there was such a stigma around it, from at least in a national US perspective. And there were so many barriers around it, it's bad for you, or this is what it does. And that's fine. There are negatives and there are pros to it, but it's the same thing here. A lot of people think that because you're using AI, because you're putting a chat bot or an automated workflow in front of someone, that it's bad, that, you're doing that because you don't want to take the time to take care of me. And I think that that's a really interesting philosophy. And I think there's ways that is true. But with this improvement in generative AI, where it all is with these new models, and they're only getting better, is that that's not really the case anymore. It's not meant to be an inferior experience. It's meant to be a better experience. And so again, I think that there's a philosophical change there, which is traditionally you go, hey, I want to put a chatbot up there because I'm sick of answering the phone. I'm sick of answering those emails, those same questions over and over. But the reality is this is now going, I'm going to make a better experience for you, not a worse experience for you. Obviously, it's not one size fits all, but that's sort of the shift that's happening here. All right, so I'm not going to go through all this. This is a big topic. This is just sort of a quick casual conversation, but there's some numbers on this. I'll just kind of highlight a couple of them, which is this last one kind of in bold here, which is, and a lot of people go, hey, it's going to take my job, or I'm going to be out of a job or out of a profession. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of things that change. If you don't sort of change in any time in history, things are evolving, you got to evolve, right? But a survey that was done here, Microsoft did a survey that said, look, what are employers trying to do? Why are they interested in AI? It's to increase in productivity, to do things faster, to make our employees happy. Like, I don't want them doing data entry. I don't want them, getting yelled at on client calls or whatever. I want them to be happier. I want them to do better work. I want them to solve bigger problems. I'm not trying to replace them. I'm trying to make them better. And that's a huge thing that's going on. Again, there are some people that are trying to cut costs, as anyone, right? When you save time, as an entrepreneur, a lot of people will ask me for fundraising advice and all this stuff. I've invested in things, and they'll go, and I always go like, what's your motivation? Why are you starting this company? What do you want to do? And there's a lot of people that are like, I want to shoot the moon. This is my vision. I want to change the world. There's a lot of people that go, I just want to make enough money where I can go sit on the beach. And that's great. Good for them, right? And that's, hey, I want to get to this point and I'm set. but a lot of people want to just get to a point, open up more lanes, and then get better and bigger. And that's where, again, the power of this can go. So lots of cool stats on kind of the state of where this is. But all right, the whole point of this quick discussion here, and why Kevin kind of set this up, was how do you use this in your business? Again, I have been dabbling with this and trying to figure this out. I've done a lot of things. I've played with it. I've done this with all sorts of things. When IoT, obviously when the iPhone came out, it changed the whole game. IoT, all the sensors and stuff, blockchain, all these big hype cycles of technology. You go, what can this technology do? and you kind of take that solution and look for a problem. That's not really the way to do it. Generative AI is really here to focus on one thing, which is communication. As an entrepreneur, and as anyone in anything in the world, I've learned this. I think it's taken me, it's taken some iterations. I've launched a lot of companies, a lot of them failed, a lot of things have spun out, and you're always leveling up and learning. But the thing that has become true more than I would often believe is communication is the key to everything you do in business. If I'm going to win a sale, it's how I'm communicating to that customer, whether it's a $1 million contract or a $10 subscription fee. How am I communicating to you my value proposition, the worth of my service or my product? All about communication. If I'm recruiting someone, I gotta tell them what it's like working on a team. I gotta tell them the role. I gotta set expectations. All about communication to them, speaking to that individual. Fundraising, investors, I gotta talk to that individual, that investor. Some investors are trying to save the world. Some investors are strategically looking at a very specific vertical. You need to be able to speak to them in order to get funding from them. Marketing, same thing. Finances, anything in your business is all about communication. If you're a solo entrepreneur and running it all on your own, you're still communicating to your customers. So generative AI, it can enhance all of this. So again, as an entrepreneur, there's nothing it can't help. Now, there's obviously limitations and there's stuff you don't want to waste time on. But what are the things that are bogging you down? I guarantee you, and all of theirs are. So I'm going to walk through a couple here that are sort of high level, because I could get granular on it and I can go into the weeds, and I'd love to with anyone. But for just the sake of this conversation, I'll kind of keep it a little bit higher to kind of get to it quickly. But for first-time entrepreneurs, you're starting your company for the first time, or maybe even serial entrepreneurs, you're often doing things that you haven't done for the first time. This is one of the hardest things for an entrepreneur to do, and anyone to do for that matter. I have 3 young kids, and there are things that you go, oh, it's interesting. You're struggling with that thing, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's right, I forgot. They've never done that before, right? And so whenever you're doing something for the first time, it's hard to do. ChatGPT, for example, is a really nice tool to help you do something for the first time. You can write a first draft of a sales email. You can write a first draft of a job description. Obviously, you can Google search it and do this. That's all been there. But the way that the output and the speed and the way you can, I'm not going to say fine tune, because that actually has a very different meaning in the AI world, but the way you can sort of tweak it to your own specific needs is just lickety split. And it happens right there in real time, and it's human output. So this is great when I don't know how many times the first couple of years of me running my first businesses, you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do next. I have to figure this out. Where can I start? Well, let me bounce something off this. So ChatGPT is great for that. It's great for this very first time you're doing something. Again, all of these things, it's not meant to solve the task. It's meant to like jumpstart you solving that task. So here's just a couple examples. This is the lowest hanging fruit. I'm sure a lot of you have already dabbled on this. If you haven't, you should be. It's free. You can just bang off this thing. It's very, very effective. And again, you're not really giving it, you can do it where you don't have to give it any secret sauce. You don't have to write specific terms. You can do it very anonymously. This is probably the biggest one, is the next lowest hanging fruit, which is, exceptional customer experience. This is a thing, I've been a designer as a big sort of chunk of my career. The user experience, the customer journey is over and over documented and written is the most important thing why company A grows and gets bigger and company B with the same product doesn't. It's a little nuance here. It's a little bit easier thing here. And that just unlocks the whole thing. You know, I could go through a million examples of this, you know, Uber, Tinder, Zoom. Like how did Zoom beat out all of the incumbent big, huge companies like Google Meet? Like they became the darling of the streaming service. It just had a little bit better experience. It was a little bit better quality. It was a little bit better to package. And that made all the difference when everyone started looking at it. But anyways, customer experience is the biggest thing. So chat bots, customer support bots, you know, obviously the word bot has a rough connotation. It drives deeper than that. You can use this if you're a startup and you're making an experience. Early stage companies, this is often a calling card of theirs. You know, you're going to take care of me. I'm going to give you the white glove experience. I'm going to give you my full attention. Don't go to the big guys. You're just a number with them, but you're everything to me. That's a huge selling point for early stage companies. Chat GPT, OpenAI, you know, Bart, all these tools, if you can, you know, build that actually into your unique workflow, you can hit up all of these things. These are all unique things that everyone looks for in an experience. I need you to be responsive. I need to be on point. I need continuity. Continuity is like the most important thing. And that with generative AI, continuity is now there if you build it into your workflow. So continuity example of that would be, I bought a product, I don't know, I bought a grill. Like I bought a grill from, let's just do a retail example. I bought a grill from you, and a year from now, I need to replace a part, or I come back and want to buy something else. If I don't, I can have a much better experience for you if I keep using that data point to talk to you. You know, if I didn't know you bought a grill from me, if I knew you bought a grill from me, I can talk to you differently. Hey, how is the grill? You know, you could talk about something funny about grilling. Like there's a connectivity now that's there. If you didn't know that is information, the connectivity layer is gone. So the continuity is massive, and generative AI can do that because you can plug in these data sets so easily now, and it can output a human response. So it's not a bullet point. It's not like a little window that says, hey, you bought this. It's a human reaction that says, hey, how was your grill? You know, my grill's doing well, you know, whatever. And then the biggest thing here is the sentiment. You know, if you're not happy, make sure you're responding with empathy, right? Now, generative AI is not really giving empathy right now. They're more modeling the simulating empathy. But what you can do, again, is kind of set that up in a way that's very, very powerful so that you're getting that experience front to back. So OpenAI, and I don't know how much on this call know this, but OpenAI is basically the engine that's running ChatGPT. A lot of people dabble with ChatGPT. OpenAI is the back end was running it. So OpenAI, you can actually program it, code it. You can put your own embeddings into it, and basically prompt whatever you want it to do, and it'll spit out this human response. That's where things get really interesting for your brand. You can put in your own unique experience, your own unique context, so that your customers are getting a unique experience to your brand, not the generic what's on the internet brand. So again, customer service as a small business, do it. It matters. If you take care of your early customers or your customers always, they are going to come back. They're going to talk about you. This is something that has nothing to do with like building a product. It's all around enhancing the service or product that you're providing. All right. Here's another thing. And this one's a little bit, this is kind of like leveling up the difficulty of it now. It's actually pretty easy, but a lot of people, you know, kind of don't dabble this as level one. The other one here is creative production. I mean, I don't know how many of you are designers or very, very good or strong designers, but this bogs people up. This slows people down. You can ideate concepts really quickly now. You can use something like DALL-E, which again is an OpenAI tool. There's a bunch of tools out there. You can literally type in a prompt and say, you know, show me, you know, pictures of people standing in front of the embassy, happy, you know, to highlight a trip to, you know, a place you just went to for a thing. It'll literally make a picture for that. And you go, well, that's not going to resonate. Let me just pop out 3 or 4. You can A/B test more than you ever could with high quality content. A/B testing is when you test multiple things and optimize the campaign. So many people know the philosophy of doing it, but they can't really do it because they don't have time. It takes time to build like a high-end campaign that you can actually run. You can pop out high-end content now, high-end imagery, high-end verbiage, high-end video even. And so this is awesome. This allows a startup to basically go, instead of me running one campaign and just hoping and praying, I can maybe run 4 or 5 in the same amount of time. This is massive for your startup. This is massive for your design team. It's not replacing them. It's letting you do more. So again, that's one that's pretty awesome. And this going back to communication here. People want to be valued and unique more than ever today, more than ever. And what this can do is universal. Generative AI can help you with all of these things. So I kind of already talked about these, but the thing I wanted to highlight here is it's not about just your customers. This is about your employees. This is about your investors. This is about your strategic partners. This is, people all are interested in these things. If you say their name, you know that feeling. If it's someone you kind of met at the bar, maybe you're even your neighbor, and you're like, I don't really remember the name. And then also they go, hey, Jeff, that makes you feel really good. It's the same way with your customers, the same way with your investors. Those little nuances of communicating better drives better results. So again, generative AI can help you with that. So the main thing to highlight here is it's not just your customers. It's everyone around you. It can help you talk to your team. You can communicate with your team better, faster, with more touch points if you set up the right cycles. HR is it's, for those recruiting and have grown your teams out bigger, hiring is so hard. Communication goes a long way to convert someone as a prospective employee to actually joining your team. All right, so this is sort of the last thing I want to hit. Obviously, we'd open up to some dialogue here if there's a little bit of time, but generative AI should be used. If you're not, I really recommend doing it. But the way that I would look at it is not, hey, use it and make a product. You can. Fiona talked about kind of the AI in her company today. It's awesome. You can productize AI, and there's so many use cases for it, and that's awesome. But a lot of companies can just be Gen AI enhanced. And so you can use existing tools out there to enhance your startup, but you can also make a product with AI, right? So I didn't talk a lot about the product side because it's already very unique to your own service and your own company. The one thing I'll say in that is, like, don't feel you have to jump into like making a product in AI. Obviously, if you're trying to raise money, a lot of people, like, the investors are hot. That's hot right now. But make sure what you're doing is actually trying to solve the problem. And again, if you're wanting to make a product in AI, it's got to enhance someone's problem. It's got to solve someone's problem. Don't, throw this technology or build some technology and try to find the problem. Keep focusing on the problem, which again is communication, doing things faster. And then you can productize it on top of it. So I didn't talk about, again, the productizing of AI, because you don't have to do that. You can use generative AI to just make your company be better and quicker and optimize, and allow you to make other products better, outside of it better. So, but this is what, so my takeaway in all this is, yes, there's some controversy. I get it. I see it. You got to use it responsibly, like any powerful tool. You should look into it. You don't have to necessarily like invest your whole company in it all the time. It's depending on each company. I think the big takeaway is small companies can move quickly on this because they don't have to worry about some of the things I talked about at the top of this, some of the PR, some of the stuff. You guys can sort of push things out, see what happens, and then iterate and evolve. So this is a really, really good time to be doing this. And as these bigger guys, if you will, are sort of slower on the uptake. I mean, I talk to big companies all the time, and they're like, hey, we're banning, Gen AI in our company right now till further notice, because we're worried about the liability. We're worried about all the things that I talked about. Guess what? Their employees are going, well, all right, how do we get in here? Well, if this is how this culture is going to be, I'm going to go work for some smaller company that's generating more tech around this. So there's an opportunity here as small companies to really advance. But again, go back to the fundamentals. Don't put a square peg in the round hole. The hype cycle is real, but don't get caught in the hype cycle where it's like you're changing your whole business model around it. You got to provide your service you're providing. let this be a tool to enhance it for you. So that's the main thing I want to get to. I love talking about this. It's been an honor to be able to talk with you. I'd love to have like a conversation about it more than like talking to you guys. But, you know, hopefully this was helpful for everyone out there. And it's a big topic. Definitely something you can't cover in, you know, a 30-minute conversation, but hopefully some of the juices are flowing out there.
Well, thank you, Jeffrey. That's actually it's really excellent. We got a couple different things on the different sites, and what I'd like to do is in a little bit, I want to make sure I signal to everyone else that if you want to raise your digital hand, if you're in the Zoom audience, if you're out in on one of the streaming services, make sure that you post a question there. We'll bring this up, and I'll try to do my best to post things. In fact, yeah, Robert just raised his hand. He actually said in the chat, raise his hand, single member SMBs, single member LLC with no IT or programming experience. So I'm in the percent that's missing the boat. Glad to be learning more today. Thanks for the presentation. Let me ask a question based on that, and then we'll get him to speak live in just a second. For these early stage companies that might not have the IT background that you or I have, what's the best way to like even experiment? Like to like, wait, like what's the, if you were to say the minimal viable experiment, like the minimal viable product, what would that look like? What would be like a place to go experiment?
Yeah, 100%. And I get it. There is a skill set here too. And exactly it's well said, Kevin. You know, this is leaning more in the technical bucket to, you know, really sort of unlock the highest levels of it. But yeah, that baseline level is kind of, I almost kind of leveled it up in that flow of the conversation, which is, you know, with again, and I think Robert, you know, you're saying, hey, I'm a single member LLC, you know, you're doing everything, you're the whole thing, you know. So it's really sort of pop it open and really start putting in prompts. And so prompt is sort of like think of it as like a Google search. And just like when you're Googling, you know, I remember a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, he would joke around sometime and he'd have a conversation with someone, and he had this little like pre-recorded little video clip or a GIF, I guess. And someone would ask him a question and he would like send this little GIF off, and he would type in the words that person asked him, and it would be a search prompt. And it would show, you know, it's like, hey, you just got to Google that, you know, you don't have to ask me. It literally is in Google. It's that first step is probably that. It's like, start putting data into it, and then that's all generic and all good, but you'll at least see like, oh, this is kind of powerful. The real step though is go, hey, I have a problem I'm trying to solve. Give it very long tail prompts. And so I would say the way to start is ChatGPT or Bard or Bing. You know, one of the, you know, they're all out there. I mean, ChatGPT is kind of the name brand one right now, the most popular one. Definitely start there. But just start using those prompts. If you're not technically able to like use the APIs where you're like sort of customizing your own thing into it, don't worry about it. You can still leverage ChatGPT to, again, get that ideation or that draft. I mean, I'll give a really good example. If, you know, every entrepreneur needs to be getting customers, it helps you write drafts of emails. It helps you write subject lines for an out cold email. And you can just pop it in there. You know, a name for your company, a name for a product line you want to run out there. It's great. Like, it's great for that like ideation and like first draft.
Yeah,
you know,
that's exactly what that's the sort of stuff that we've done around, or when we were launching the Venture Bridge that has also different kind of companies between the state of Chihuahua and Texas. Part of what I did was I was just like, I wrote a paragraph of the welcome information, and then I had ChatGPT fill it out in English. And then on top of that, the thing that happened is I can translate into Spanish, but instead of doing that, I just said, hey, ChatGPT, translate this into Spanish as well. And so I had the English and the Spanish, and I had it within like 10 minutes total. I read it, you know, I made sure that that it said in Spanish what I said in English, and copied both and was able to launch. So yeah, it's really interesting. And that time alone about doing that translation, given that we have, the translations aren't going to necessarily be perfect. You have to make sure that you read it over. It's not like you can just abdicate. But yeah, I totally agree with you, Jeffrey. That's great.
Yeah, and exactly. I think the key here is like, don't use this as like the Bible, if you will. Like, like if you're looking for legal stuff, for example, this is a pretty common use case where they're like, I need a contract, right? Boom, and you could write a contract in this, like it does it. But that, I wouldn't go, hey, let's just do that and that's my contract. Like you can dabble in it so you kind of know like what is I'm navigating, but then then put it in front of your attorney, or not necessarily put it in front of your attorney, but like, hey, I know like what to talk to my attorney about. If they say, hey, yeah, that looks great, you just cut down some costs. You didn't, you're not like going out there in the wild being like, now I'm an attorney. You're just sort of leveraging your knowledge. It's like WebMD, right? You're not, I mean, some people do this. Don't not go to your doctor. It's a way for you to learn and dabble so that when you go to your doctor.
It's a good training tool. Yeah, that's I've seen that as well. Robert, you had your hand up and it looks like you just came on video. If you wanted to go ahead and ask a question, and for everyone else, we'll do this. It's 12:01, meaning that we're over the hour that we usually have. We'll ask just a few questions. We'll make sure that we have Jeffrey on the community site for the next week. Usually what we do is we have our speakers be, take questions back and forth on the threads on the community site, and at least for a few days. So he'll be fair game from that standpoint in just a little bit. But yeah, Robert, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Both of y'all answered my initial question and many more, but the follow-up then is, have y'all seen any services that are doing bundling or the Hootsuite of these AI applications? Is that in the pipeline somewhere that we can be looking, or is that the kind of thing where when we're big enough to start plugging APIs in and bringing in a professional to do it, that's what it achieves?
No, there are tools. There's just a plethora of people building tools. Again, with the language models there, people are spitting out startups all the time. So, I mean, if you're looking for a specific workflow that you want to like optimize, I would, it's still very early stages, but yes, people are building like productizing little niches of this product all over the place so that you don't have to be a prompt engineer or a very technical person. You can go, perfect, I can just leverage that. So yeah, it's ripe. I mean, any innovation, you're starting to see these niche nuances that are like, I specialize in exactly this slice of it. Yeah, they're out there. So, there's products that specialize in very unique levels of it that are popping up everywhere.
Perfect. And what we'll do as well is we can make sure that I actually capture, since I consume a lot of data, what I'll do on the community site is I'll post. I was just noticing I have 27 different posts that might be of interest to AI tools and background and stuff like that. I'll make sure that that's on the community site, so to kind of drive people over to there as well. Jeffrey, any other things that you'd like to say? I know that I know that I'm keeping everyone longer because I ended up going a little bit longer than normally do. Other stuff you'd like to say, and just wrapping up on the about the process, other ways that we should be thinking about this and engaging?
Yeah, I mean, and I know there's so much more to kind of dig into it. So I think that, again, just the only thing I would just end with is that you guys as an entrepreneurs, there's a million opportunities. I'll just say this because I kind of said at the end, this is not going away. This is not some fad. This technology is very real. It's very, very powerful. But again, your business that you have now, it doesn't mean you've got to like flip it all over. That's the big thing I'd say. Like, I think some people kind of have that fear of like, oh my God, I'm not like fully using AI. It's an enhancement to anything. That's my biggest takeaway. So it's not like, hey, you have to make an AI product. Just know that, like, there's a lot of people making AI products, and a lot of them you're seeing in the paper, they raise billions of dollars. They don't even have a product yet. That's a unique skill set that group has. Your skill sets are your skill sets. If this is not your strength, you're not a technologist, you can still leverage it to enhance what you're doing. You don't have to go all in on the tech, but don't ignore it. Like, don't just sit there and go, oh, it's nothing. Dabble with it, understand how it can help you outside of productizing. That's just the biggest thing.
That sounds great. And when in future programs, what we'll do is we're going to have a couple of different entrepreneurs that are using AI in very sophisticated ways to build on what Jeffrey said. Marcus, one of our entrepreneurs from Austria, has a company called Halo Sophia that we'll hear from that has embedded AI. And then Cynthia, one of our entrepreneurs from Honduras, is leveraging AI for supporting people that at great risk with mental health issues. And so we'll hear from her in the coming weeks as well. She tried to be on today, but we'll hear from her about how these other individuals are using that. Jeffrey, thank you for your time today. I greatly appreciate it. Send my best to Graham McFarland, who works with Jeffrey. Just haven't gotten to see him a long time. For those of y'all that don't know, or some of you old timer tech ranchers know, Graham was one of our instructors about a decade ago, and so it's really cool to be connected back into the greater Tech Ranch family and stuff like that. So thank you for that.
No, thanks for having me. It's awesome, and you've got an awesome thing going here, Kevin.
Thank you. Well, so we'll go ahead and wrap up for the day. If at some point in the future, if you're involved and want to find out more about what's happening, the best way to kind of get integrated into the Tech Ranch community, you can take one of our programs, but we do have a lot of activities that are available for free. Part of what we want to do is help you step into this community and take advantage of what's there. If you go to techranch.com/connect, there is a place to sign up. If you have a mentor, if you have scar tissue to donate to entrepreneurs that are making a difference in the world, there's a place that you can actually sign up as a mentor. Now, we do have a mentor program you have to go through. We're not just we're not just the kind of community that just has like a long list of unvetted mentors. Part of what we want to do is really help structure and make sure that the mentor relationship is set up there. For those of y'all that know my martial arts background, 30 years of Japanese martial arts is kind of a responsibility of the senpai to the kohai, the person that might be a little bit farther along than the person that's actually going to be there. Part of, if you're interested in that, go to techranch.com/connect, sign up as one of our mentors. If you have interest in bringing this work to your corner of the world, there's a place to sign up as a country manager. The country manager position, we've had country managers that have become, like I have business partners that are country managers. It starts out as a volunteer, but part of what we're looking for as country managers is individuals that want to connect this network to their part of the world as well. There's a place to sign up for that. Sign up for our newsletter because we have a lot more information. As you could tell, I kind of went overboard with my background, my notes for today. And but part of it is there's so much activity that's happening. It's so great to finally be beyond COVID and to have things start to really wake up again, especially for some of the other countries. There's just too much information happening for us to always put it on the program. So take advantage of that as well. And then there is a free place to sign into our community for the first level of our community site. Make sure that you sign up about that. We're moving over. We got rid of the Slack channels. Sorry for having to leave that. But so the new community site is booting back up after, the traumatic thing of moving over. But please take advantage of that as well. All right, well, and just wrapping up, it's thank you, Jeffrey, and thank you everyone that joined in the studio audience. Part of what we'd like to do is make sure we're serving your needs. If there's something specific you'd like to see in the coming weeks, please let me know. And if you have a pitch that you'd like to do, if you'd like to get involved in other ways that we might not have described in the up to this point verbally, let us know. Part of what we're here to do is work together in supporting each other for change in the world. So it's always my honor to be a part of a community of entrepreneurs that are driven by vision and values. Let's go change the world for the better together. Y'all take good care. Thank you for today. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.